Micromax's re-entry into the Indian market has been marred with controversy, from leaked build issues to claims about rebranding. We have seen it all. Us personally, well, the brand didn't send us a unit, but we managed to snag one in the second flash sale. So sorry for being a little late to the party, but now that we finally have the Micromax In Note 1 in our hands, let's unbox it and see what all the hype is about. We have a blue colored box, kind of reminds me of Honor boxes. More on those similarities in a bit though. First up, Micromax is heavily pushing their in brand as a made in India option. And again, we'll talk about that as well. But first, let's come back to the box. There's the regular spec highlights to the back, and once again, we find the In for India branding to the back as well. Okay, I'm sure most of you don't care about the box and would rather want to see the phone itself. So let's pop open that lid and take the Micromax In Note 1 out of the box. Removing the protective plastic. There's a couple of those, as well as a sticker to the back. And here's our first proper look at the In Note 1. We have the 4128GB variant here, and the back has this checkered pattern on it. The reflective gradient design is eye-catchy, especially in this green finish. Oh, and it seems like the In Note 1 comes factory fitted with a screen protector right out of the box. I'ma peel that one off though. And while the phone boots up, let's check out what else we have inside. Barring the usual suspects like an user guide and the SIM ejector, there's an 18-watt power brick and a Type-C cable. That's all we get inside the box, folks. But before we move on to the next segment of this video, if you have been liking what you have been watching thus far, then a sub to the channel and a click on that bell icon would be much appreciated. Now, before we get started, let me quickly address the elephant in the room. There's In for India branding all over the phone. But honestly, is this an Indian phone? Well, Micromax is an Indian brand, so that makes it an Indian phone, right? Not quite. It's not really that simple. In the past, we have seen Micromax rebrand devices from ZTE, Coolpad, and a lot of others. So while they were sold here in India under the Micromax brand name, the ODM, or Original Device Manufacturer, well, that was Chinese. But that's in the past. Micromax is all Indian now, right? Well, there have been rumors about the In Note 1 being a rebranded Honor device, more specifically the Honor 9X. Now, at a glance, you might say that they look kind of similar. That's because of the X pattern to the back. But honestly, that's where the similarities end. The 9X has a current processor, a triple camera setup, and a pop-up selfie snapper. The Micromax In Note 1 has none of those. As for the Honor 10X Lite, well, the display size might be similar, but the internals, once again, it's not the same. So the design here, it's definitely their own. And while it might seem a bit too familiar with the rectangular camera bump, the color changing back, and the centrally placed fingerprint scanner, a similar looking phone doesn't mean it's a rebrand. That being said, being designed in India doesn't make a phone Indian either. Now, if we turn the In Note 1 around, up front we have a 6.67-inch IPS panel. It's Full HD+, so nice and sharp with bright colors. We even have a punch hole for a 16-megapixel selfie camera. And yes, the Micromax In Note 1 does support up to 10-point multi-touch. We did test that out as well. But the point I was trying to make here, was this display manufactured here in India? In fact, let's go a step further. Pushing those pixels is the MediaTek Helio G85. Now don't get me wrong, this is one of the best mid-range chips that there is. We have seen it before from Chinese offerings like the Redmi Note 9 and the Realme Narzo 20. And based on that, plus the fact that we have stock Android 10 on board here, I expect the performance to be really great. But then again, coming back to Micromax's claim of this phone being made in India. Well, these MediaTek chips, they were manufactured in Taiwan. So assembled in India, but not made in India. But hey, that distinction doesn't really matter to me because I'm here to review the phone, not the brand, not their tagline. But I felt it was something worth mentioning to you guys. Okay, so coming back to the specs, we have 4 gigs of LPDDR4X memory with 64 or 128 gigs of eMMC 5.1 storage. That's not all, we have a dedicated micro SD card slot here. So the 3-card tray is to the left and just beneath it is the dedicated Google Assistant button. To the right, we have the power and volume buttons. Up top is a secondary mic, and at the bottom resides the headphone jack, the primary mic, the speaker, and the Type-C port. That Type-C port facilitates 18 watts fast charging as well as reverse wired charging. Yes, we can use the 5000 mAh unit inside the In Note 1 to charge up other phones as well. Now, packing in a battery that size does mean the Note 1 tips the scales at over 200 grams. In hand though, it doesn't feel that heavy. The curved plastic back fits nicely. But the smooth finish means it's kind of slippery and an absolute dust and fingerprint magnet. Now, some people have faced build issues, but our retail unit was perfectly fine. No squeaks or creaks. The buttons felt nice and clicky. The fingerprint scanner worked just as expected, pretty much nothing to complain about. Now the one little complaint I do have is this. Yes, it's a spelling mistake. I know, I'm being nitpicky. But honestly, the software experience is the strongest point of the In Note 1. It runs pure stock Android. That means no ads or bloatware. Micromax is even promising 2 years of updates with the In Note 1. To be fair, we do have a few special features like support for a bunch of gestures, and there's a dark mode as well. But other than that, it's bone stock Android. We also have 5 GHz Wi-Fi as well as voice over Wi-Fi functionality in here. Heck, I even checked out the sensors just to make sure that Micromax didn't cut any corners, and they're all here and accounted for. Leading us finally to the optics. There's 4 cameras on board the Micromax In Note 1, the primary being a 48 megapixel shooter. It's got an f1.79 aperture lens for that amazing natural bokeh, and Micromax has even kitted the Note 1 out with a dedicated night mode. Moving down the line, we have the 5 megapixel ultra wide. This one has been kitted out with an f2.2 lens that has a wide 115 degree field of view. The last two, well, they're token 2 megapixel depth and macro sensors. But hey, you can't realistically expect more at this price range. In fact, for a budget phone, the 16 megapixel selfie shooter does quite well. There's a bit of over sharpening going on, but overall, the pictures come out looking good. Which then leads us to the price. The base variant of the Micromax In Note 1 starts at 10,999 rupees, and going up to 12,499 gets us the higher 128 gigs of storage. Now, at this price point, we do have phones that offer something more, like 90Hz displays, fast charging and all that. But if you're looking for a pure stock Android experience, well then the Micromax Note 1 is pretty much the only option out there right now. Yes, there are Nokias out there, but have you guys seen their recent launches? So that's the Micromax In Note 1. Take away all the hype and the marketing from it, we are still left with a surprisingly competent budget option. So what do you guys think about it? Would you buy a Micromax In Note 1? Why or why not? Let me know in the comments below. As always, like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon if you haven't yet. Thanks a lot for watching till the end, guys. Have a good one. Cheers.